Most of us believe that changing our lives has to begin with a big decision, a sharp turn, or some explosive moment. But the truth is much quieter than that. Life isn't rebuilt on special days, but on the most ordinary ones. The actions are so small, they feel insignificant. Making your bed, drinking water, going to sleep on time, finishing one task properly. No one applauds, no one notices. Yet it's precisely these silent moments that are shaping who you become. You don't fail because you lack motivation or discipline. You fail because you try to change through inspiration, when what you really need is a system simple enough to repeat every day. Change isn't loud. It accumulates. And at some point, you simply realize that you're different. Your morning doesn't begin with big decisions, but with the small actions you take while your mind is still half asleep. The way you wake up, the first thing you touch, and the rhythm of the first few minutes of the day are quietly laying the foundation for everything that follows. When you make your bed, you're not just arranging sheets and pillows, you're reminding yourself that one thing has already been completed today. When you drink water before reaching for your phone or coffee, your body and brain wake up in a natural, unhurried way. When you eat a familiar breakfast and keep your phone out of the bedroom, you reduce chaos right from the starting point. These morning habits don't make you special. They simply make life less disordered. And that's the foundation every other change needs to stand on. Most of the fatigue you feel during the day doesn't come from the amount of work you do, but from constantly having to make decisions in a fog. You wake up without clearly knowing where you're going, what to do first, or what actually matters. Time passes with the feeling of being pulled along, while your attention is constantly yanked away by notifications, messages, and interruptions. When you spend a few minutes in the evening looking over tomorrow's schedule, you're not trying to control life, but to remove uncertainty. You know where you'll start, what you'll focus on, and what you'll ignore. That clarity allows your brain to rest even before the new day begins. When you place your phone far away and do one thing at a time, you reclaim control over your own attention. Not through sheer willpower, but by reducing temptation. When you eat, you just eat. When you work, you just work. When you talk, you are truly present. Life slows down, but its quality deepens. And when you prepare things the night before, you help your morning self avoid a fight. You don't need to think much, rush, or defend yourself. These habits of managing time and attention don't make your day longer. They simply make each hour more intentional, lighter, and less exhausting. Most of the tension you carry doesn't come from what's happening, but from thoughts that are never set down. Every day your head is filled with noise, what is past, what's coming, and sentences that repeat themselves in silence. When you write a few short lines, read a few pages, or take a walk without carrying any device, you're not trying to become deeper. You're simply creating space for your mind to breathe. Those moments slow your thoughts, separate them from emotion, and make them clearer. When you sit still in silence, with no purpose and no task, your nervous system begins to lower its guard. You react less, tense up less, and reconnect with yourself. These mental and perceptual habits don't bring instant breakthroughs or sudden enlightenment. They quietly give back something you lost a long time ago, the calm to look at life without being swept away. Many times you think you're tired because of work, the people around you, or the pressure of life itself. But there's a quieter cause that often goes unnoticed: the environment you live in every day. Unwashed glasses in the sink, clothes thrown over a chair, a desk covered in papers, notifications piling up in your head. None of these things is big enough to be called a problem, but together they create a heavy, uncomfortable feeling. You walk into a room and feel irritated before you even sit down, without really knowing why. That's when your environment is whispering to your brain that everything is out of control. When you spend a few minutes tidying your space before going to bed, You're not trying to become a perfectly organized person, you're simply closing the day. Each item put back in its place is a small signal to your brain that the loop of chaos ends here. The next morning, you wake up in a quiet, clean space, and stress hasn't had time to form yet. External order makes internal order easier to appear. Not because you're stronger, but because you're no longer being constantly attacked by visual stimuli. Environment isn't just the room you live in, but also the commitments you allow to exist in your life. Every unnecessary yes, every meeting you attend reluctantly, every obligation that drains you takes up mental space. When you begin to say no to one thing each week, you're not rejecting other people. You're protecting your own energy. At first, it may make you feel guilty, selfish, or uncomfortable, but gradually you notice a strange lightness when your schedule is no longer filled with things that don't belong to you. Real order doesn't come from controlling everything, but from choosing less. When you remove what's unnecessary, you create space for what truly matters to exist. A tidy physical space helps you focus longer. A spacious mental environment helps you think more clearly. And when you're no longer constantly fighting clutter, you begin to have energy for deeper changes. Habits around environment and order may sound trivial, even boring, but they're quietly doing something very important, giving you back a sense of control. You don't need to change your entire home or reorganize your whole life. Just end each day a little more orderly and let go of one thing that no longer fits each week. Slowly, you'll realize that life no longer weighs on you the way it used to, not because all your problems disappeared, but because you created an environment calm enough for you to stand firmly within it. Many worries about money don't come from not having enough of it, but from not truly facing it. The numbers sit quietly in your account, yet in your mind there's a vague, floating feeling of not knowing whether you're okay or slowly slipping. You avoid opening your banking app, avoid looking at statements, and in return you carry a low, persistent anxiety. When you spend a few minutes each week reviewing your finances, you're not doing it to blame yourself or tighten control. You're simply turning on the light in a room that's been left dark for too long. As things become clear, fear begins to dissolve. You know how you've been spending, where you stand, and how you can adjust. This small financial habit won't make you rich overnight, but it gives you something rare, a sense of stability, the feeling that you're no longer avoiding your own life. Sleep is not a reward after a long, exhausting day. It's the biological foundation for everything you do while you're awake. When your bedtime constantly shifts, your body is forced to adapt as if it were living in a permanent state of jet lag. You wake up tired, your mind feels slow. Your emotions fluctuate easily even when you've technically slept enough hours. When you choose a fixed bedtime and keep it consistent, you're not sacrificing freedom or spontaneity. You're teaching your body when to rest and when to be active. A stable circadian rhythm allows your brain to recover more deeply, your emotions to stay more balanced, and your energy to be distributed more evenly throughout the day. Consistent sleep doesn't make life less busy, but it makes you alert and steady enough to face everything without being exhausted from the inside. None of these habits is big enough to change your life overnight, and that's exactly what gives them their power. Real change doesn't come from a dramatic moment, but from small actions repeated when no one is watching. Each habit is only a tiny piece, but when they come together, they form a system strong enough to support you over time. After a few months, you won't remember exactly what made everything different. You'll just notice that you sleep better, think more clearly, feel less anxious, and move through your work more lightly. Not because you became perfect, but because you stopped fighting yourself. Start with one habit, stay consistent in silence, and let the change speak for itself when it's finally big enough. You're no longer someone who just watches videos about change and nods along. The fact that you stayed until this moment says something else. You're the kind of person who has started paying attention to small things, who understands that life isn't built on peaks, but on choices repeated every day. You don't need to become a perfect person or develop iron discipline. You just need to keep being someone who knows how to pause, observe, and adjust the rhythm of life a little slower, a little more accurately. From here on, each small habit is no longer a task, but part of the person you're becoming. And if this video helped you see that version of yourself more clearly, you can stay, follow the channel, and let us continue growing together in a sustainable and gentle way.